Hi, I'm GLA and welcome to my YouTube channel. Culture is the characteristic and knowledge of a particular group of people, encompassing language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, and arts. The word culture derives from French term, in turn derives from the Latin colere, which means to tend to the earth and grow, or cultivation and nurture. Culture are what making the country unique and interesting. Culture includes material goods, the things the people use and produce. Culture is also the beliefs and values of the people and the ways they think about and understand the world and their own lives. Different countries have also different cultures.
Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is all about culture. So let us give the meaning, characteristic of it, and its function. First, let us give the meaning of the culture. Culture is used in a special sense in anthropology and sociology. It refers to the sum of human beings' life ways, their behavior, beliefs, feelings, true. It connotes everything that is acquired by them as social beings. So culture is the characteristic and knowledge of a particular group of people encompassing language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music and arts. The word culture derives from a French term which term derives from the Latin colere, which means to tend to the earth and grow, or cultivation and nurture. Okay, now we are in the characteristic culture. So the first characteristic culture is learned behavior. Not all behavior is learned, but most of learn, combining one's hair standing in line, telling jokes, criticizing the president and going to the movie, and all constitute behaviors which had to be learned. So just all about human behaviors are learned. Learned behavior is a behavior that occurs only after experience or practice. Learned behavior has an advantage or innate behavior. It is more flexible. Humans are the most intelligent animals. They depend on learned behaviors more than any other species. Next, culture is abstract. Culture exists in the minds or habits of the members of society. Culture is the shared ways of being, doing, and thinking. There are degrees of visibility in cultural behavior, ranging from the regularized activities of person to their internal reason for so doing. So, culture is the shared ways of doing and thinking. There are degrees of visibility of cultural behavior, ranging from person who activity for their internal reason for so doing. In other words, we cannot see culture as such. We can only see human behavior. Next is the culture is a pattern of learned behavior. Each person's behavior often depends upon some particular behavior of someone else. The point is that as a general rule, behaviors are somewhat integrated or organized with related behaviors of other person. So patterns generally involve repetitive actions, a task or behavior engaged in frequently, often without giving it much through, or it's a behavior that we're reluctant to change because of a reward associated with it. So next is the culture is the product of behavior. Culture learning are the products of behavior. As a person behaves, there occur changes in him. He acquires the ability to swim, to feel hatred toward someone, or to sympathize with someone they have grown out of his previous behavior. So they have grown out of his previous behavior. In both ways, then human behavior is the result of behavior. The experience of other people are impressed on one as he grew up, and also many of his traits and abilities have grown out of his own past behaviors. Next is the culture includes attitudes, values, knowledge. So there is widespread error in thinking of many people who tend to regard the ideas, attitude, and notions which they have as their own. It is easy to overestimate the uniqueness of one's own attitude and ideas. When there is agreement with other people, it is largely unnoticed. But when there is disagreement or difference, one is usually conscious of it. Next is the culture also includes material object. Man's behavior results in creating object. Men were behaving when they made these things. To make this object required numerous and various skills which human being gradually built up through the ages. Man has invented something else, and soon, occasionally, one encounters the view that man does not really make steel or a battleship. All these things first existed in a state nature. So materials culture refers to the physical objects, resources, and spaces that people use to define their culture. This includes homes, neighbors, cities, schools, churches, snug templates, mosques, offices, factories, and plants, tools, means of productions, goods and products are stored, and so forth. Next, culture is shared by members of society. The pattern of learned behavior and the result of behavior are possessed not by one or few percent, but usually by a large proportion. Society's culture comprises the shared values, understanding, assumption, and goals that are learned over generation, imposed by present members of society and passed on to succeeding generation. However, it is not the sense in which the word culture is used in the social sciences. Next is the culture is superorganic. Culture is sometimes called superorganic. It implies that culture is somehow superior to nature. The word superorganic is useful when it implies that what may be quite a different phenomenon from a cultural point of view. So, viewed from Spencer's social and evolutionary theory, superorganic refers to the claim that culture is an entity that exists over and beyond individuals that make it up. The super-organic mode of explanation in cultural geography reflects the notion culture assigning it ontology, status, and causative power. In this theory, culture is viewed as entity above man, not reducible to the actions of individuals mysteriously respond to laws of its own. Next, culture is pervasive. Culture is pervasive. It touches every aspect of life. The pervasiveness of culture is manifest in two ways. First, culture provides an unquestioned context within which individual action and response take place. Not only emotional action but relational actions are governed by cultural norms. Second, culture pervades social activities and institutions. So, culture is pervasive, it touches every aspect of life. So, culture provides an unquestioned context. So, culture, like an individual, is a more or less consistent pattern of thought and action. Within each culture there come into being characteristic process not necessarily shared by other types of society. Okay, next is the culture is a way of life. Culture means simply the way of life people or their design for living. So a culture is a way of life of a group of people. They have behavior, beliefs, values, and symbols that they accept generally without thinking about them, and that are passed along by communications and imitation from one generation to the next. Culture is symbolic communication. Next is culture is a human product. Culture is not a force operating by itself and independent of the human actors. There is an unconscious tendency to defy culture, to endow it with life, and treat it as a thing. Culture is a creation of society in interaction and depends for its existence upon the continuance of the society. So, culture is the creation of society and interaction and depends for existence on the continuance of society. Therefore, culture does not do anything of its own. It is a human product. It is not independently endowed with life. So next is culture is idealistic. Culture embodies the ideas and norms of a group. It is sum total of the ideal patterns and norms of behavior of a group. Culture consists of the intellectual, artistic, and social ideas and institution which the members of the society profess and to which they strive to confirm. So ideal culture is a concept within individuals' perceptions of culture and is comprised of the norms, values, and the ethics that a culture claims to profess. The other component in cultural perception is real culture, which is composed of the values, norms, and ethics that are actually followed by a society in reality. So next, culture is transmitted among members of the society. So the culture ways are learned by persons from person. Many of them are handed down by one's elders, by parents, teachers, and others of what somewhat older generation. Other cultural behavior are handed up to elders. Some of the transmission of culture is among contemporaries. So, culture is transmitted through learning and helps shape behavior and beliefs. If foreign culture mixed, the language would be affected. If you live in a place where there are many tourists that speak English, learning English will be part of your culture. We can say that language influences culture. So, next is the culture is continually changing. There is one fundamental and inescapable attribute, special quality of culture, the fact of unending change. Some societies at some times change slowly, and hence in comparison to the other societies seems not to be changing at all, but they are changing, even though not obviously so. So culture is made up of customs, attitudes, and beliefs that are unique to each group of people. New philosophical ideas and technology advance can lead to cultural change. Cultural change can also occur through diffusions when contact with other cultures and ideas are transferred. And next is the culture is variable. Culture varies from society to society, group to group. Hence, we say culture of India or England. Further, culture varies from group to group within the same society. There are subcultures with a culture cluster of patterns which are both related to general culture of the society and yet distinguishable from it are called subcultures. So the cultures are variable. Approaches focuses on internal values, rules, edge, or external national culture. Variables that are thought to predict important organizational outcomes, productivity, employee satisfaction. 2. Culture should be understood as having multiple levels or dimensions. So next is culture is an integrated system. Culture possesses an order and system if various parts are integrated with each other, and any new element which is introduced is also integrated. So integration has the benefits of allowing citizens to respect other cultures, creating a sense of unity within a community. In addition, individuals that partake in multiple societies gain resources from multiple cultures while expanding their own horizon. So culture integration is when individuals from one culture adopt practices from another culture without diminishing their own. Next is the language is the chief vehicle of culture. So culture is everything which is socially learned and shared by the members of society. It is a culture that in the wide focus of the world distinguishes individuals from individual, group from group, and society. In other words, language is a vehicle for people to communicate with their peers and convey meaning into their social and cultural reality. To a certain extent, the way we think and interpret things is shaped by the morals, attitudes, traditions, and whole way of living in community we grow up in. Now, we are now in the functions of culture. Among all groups of people, we find widely shared beliefs, norms, values, and preferences. Since culture seems to be a universal human phenomenon, it occurs naturally to wonder whether culture corresponds to any universal human needs. This curiosity raises the question of the function of culture. Social scientists have discussed various functions of culture. Culture has certain functions for both individuals and society. In addition to its intrinsic value, culture provides important social and economic benefits with improved learning and health, increased tolerance, and opportunities to come together with others. So culture enhances our quality of life and increases overall well-being for both individuals and communities. So first is culture defines situation. Each culture has many subtitle cues which define each situation. It reveals whether should prepare to fight, run, laugh, or make it loud. So each culture has many subtitle cues which define each situation. Attitudes, values, and goals are defined by the culture, where the individuals normally learns them as unconsciously as he learned the language. Attitude are the tendencies to feel and act in a certain ways. So next is the culture defines attitudes, values, and goals. Each person learns in his culture what is good and true and beautiful. Attitudes, values, and goals are defined by the culture, while the individuals normally learns them as unconsciously as he learns the language. Attitude are tendencies to feel and act in a certain ways. Values are measured of goodness or desirability. For example, we value private property, representative government, and many other things. And experience goals are those attainments which our values defines as worthy. Winning the race, gaining the affections of a particular girl, or becoming president of the firm. by approving certain goals and ridiculing others. The culture channels individuals' ambitions. In this way, culture determines the goals of life. So, result suggests that culture is a significant determinant of migrants' individuals' environmental preferences and attitudes. Furthermore, culture significantly influences individuals' beliefs about the limits to growth, the fragility of the balance of nature, and the likelihood of an ecological crisis. The cultural values provide patterns of living and prescribe rules and models for attitude and conduct. For example, several culture-specific values have been identified for a specific group. So culture expresses goals through values and beliefs and guides activity through shared assumption and group norms. Strategy provides clarity and focus for collective action decision making. So next is the culture defines myth, legends, and the supernatural. Myths and legends are an important part of every culture. They may inspire, reinforce effort and sacrifice, and bring comfort in bereavement. Whether they are true is sociologically unimportant. Ghosts are real to the people who believe in them and who act upon this belief. We cannot understand the behavior of any group without knowing something of the myths, legends, and supernatural beliefs they hold. Myths and legends are powerful forces in a group's behavior. So a myth is traditionally a story that explains the beliefs of a people about the natural and the human world. The main characters in the myths are usually gods or supernatural heroes. The stories are set in the distant past. A legend is a traditional story about the past. The main characters are usually kings or heroes. So, next is culture provides behaviors and patterns. So, individual need to not go through painful trial and error, learning to know what food can be eaten without poisoning him, or how to live among people without fear. So culture helps in understanding and predicting the human behavior, and also it provides channels of interaction for individuals within a group. It defines the pattern of behavior for individuals so that he acts according to the behavior pattern prescribed and defined by culture. So, culture and society. The relationship between society, culture, and personality is stressed by Benson. So, a society is an organized group of individuals. A culture is an organized group of learners' bonds. So, individual is a living organism capable, independent through feeling and action. But with his independence limited, all his resources profoundly modified by contact with the society and culture in which he develops. So, language not only reflects and expresses facts and observation, it also influences attitudes and behavior, and is a vital component of cultural progress underlying societal development. Language is a crucial means for communication and interaction. So, thanks for watching.